Welcome to a tutorial video about picking up and making the pocket for the Leave Gnome Stone Unturned pattern from Imagine Landscapes Designs. Right now we need to pick up the stitches from this little garter ridge that we created right before the ribbing here. So these stitches here we're going to pick up. I like to separate the picking up stage from the knitting stage anytime I'm working a toy. If I'm knitting a sweater and I'm picking up along an edge, I do the pick up and knit step, but I like to separate it, partly because the stitches are small and I like to see them, and partly because, especially if it's in the round, the needles start to stack up in a way that it's just easier for me. So a garter ridge is made up of sort of two rows of bumps. There's bumps on the top and there's bumps on the bottom, and I call these the caps on top and the smiles on the bottom. So we're going to pick up in the smiles. So we're going to go top to bottom, again and again. If you feel like you're having a little hard time seeing, just kind of see if you move your needle down, if you can see a better job, which is the top and the bottom, because sometimes when we get up here, everything starts to kind of compress and look the same. So kind of get a good sense of where it is and then go back and grab that. Especially if your yarn's a little on the darker side, this can be a little tricky. Again, that's part of why I like to separate the pickup from the knit. Rather than doing this as a whole pick up and knit stage. So next step is to count that you have 11 stitches. We'll just assume I do because we don't need to watch me counting. So now we're going to join our contrasting yarn, leaving a nice long tail for later. And then we will simply push this in and we will just knit across. So we start with the right side row. Then just follow the rest of the directions to make the pocket, and I will be back to deal with the next stage, which is going to be sewing down the edges. All right, with our flap for the pocket picked up, we're going to knit this, sew this down. I recommend starting with the right side so that you can sew from the bottom where the tail is up, and then that will give you a sense of where to start sewing this down so that the thing doesn't want to go off on an angle. Although gnomes really love wonkiness, so you might want to make yours angled on purpose. You and Numbleberry get to be the boss of your pocket. So what I recommend you do is figure out which line of stitches is in line with things. So it looks to me like this set of stitches here is going to be covered by the pocket. So this line of stitches here is going to be the stitches that I'm going to grab from. So I will grab one leg of a stitch from this set, and then I will go under two legs of the side of the pocket. And then I'm going to go up the pocket and down, and you can see here, can you see how these ones are small instead of long? I forgot to slip stitches sometimes when I was knitting this, but that's not the end of the world. So we're going to go like that, and then we will go back under. And the key thing is to make sure you're always choosing the same column of stitches here. All right. You may need to just make sure you're tugging on things and that things are looking good. All right, so because I didn't slip stitches, I've got some more stitches more V's on this side that I can grab. So I will just do that. Now, no matter how, make sure I got that right. No matter how I worked on this pocket, I couldn't make both sides. So again, we just go up and we go through both sides of that V. I couldn't make it look great. And with all the patience and trickery at my disposal, if I can't make something look great, then I worry about other people who don't necessarily have all the patience and trickery. And so what I decided to do was we are going to actually cover this edge up. And so if you don't love the way yours looks, you're going to be okay. So let's make sure I'm on the right track here. Okay, so I need to go through this and then I'll thread it back on. So if your stitching looks, for lack of a better word, a bit poopy, you're gonna be okay. Because, because we're gonna cover this with some decorative stitching. I was just gonna say, if you skip stitches here, that's natural because the slipped stitches will be taller than the unslipped stitches of the hat. So it's more important that they're parallel than that they are, that you attach every single one. So again, here I'm skipping a stitch because I want to go up to go here and get that looking good. And then there is no slipped stitch here, but we want that corner sewn down nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure that I get that corner as well. And so we will just give that a little bit of a, I'm actually going to go around rather than up and down. I'm actually doing kind of a whip stitch going in and around so that you can see how that yarn is actually circling so that that corner stays down nicely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, you have a couple choices. One is to bury the yarn and knot it on the inside here. The other is to go onto the inside of the pocket. Let me show you here. Inside of the pocket. Well, not the pocket, inside of the hat. So we've got things nice and sturdily attached there. And then we just want to make sure that we trace across to make sure that we don't accidentally go up or down when attaching this side. And here we start at the corner and this gets a little more awkward. So we're going to switch this around if we're right-handed so that this is the side facing us again. So making sure that we are in line and that we've got the right column of stitches. This is going to get covered, so this is actually the leg I'm going to grab. I'll grab this one, and I could be wrong, so we'll see pretty quickly if I've gone too far to the outside. And see how this is sticking out a little bit and not looking great? I am going to fudge that in by going through it, and then we're gonna make that part of what we sew down when we go down into the first slipped stitch. Yeah, see how that kind of pulled it nicely in line with the rest of things? All right, so we've gone down there. Then we need to go find the next slipped stitch, go between both legs of it, and then into grab a leg of the hat. I found consistently this was the side that gave me fidgets when I was trying to make the pockets look great. So yeah, I really struggled to make this look good. So we're gonna finish up in a moment with a decorative flourish that is 100% driven by my desire to get everybody a hat pocket that they love without feeling like their stitching was too sloppy. So if you can see that, I mean, I did manage to make it look slightly nicer sometimes, but now that I know that I don't have to make it look nice, I'm just gonna mostly leave that like that. Make sure that where we're on this second group of stitches, I'm just gonna kind of play with it to make sure that the yarn tension is good in this column, because this one we're just going to cover up for the most part. All right, so what we want to do is create a series of horizontal dashes. So each stitch is comprised of a V. And so I say we should come up a stitch and a half. So what I'm saying is come up in the middle of the second column of stitches. So if we come up here, and again, leave a tail so that you can weave in the end and deal with it later. Then what we want to do is we want to come down on the outside of the hat. And just like that, we've created a little horizontal line. And so we're going to create, I don't know, 5 or 6. It seemed like 6 worked well for me. So sort of with a couple stitches between. And then you come down. And a trick with this is if you know where you want to come up, you can do that in one swoop. You can just angle it up and over. You don't have to punch down, then move over, and then punch up. You can just do a diagonal here. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's about right. So I'm at 3 now, so 6 is looking very unlikely. I may have to undo this. Let's see. So again, we're just coming up in the middle of this second column. So that's 4. Let's see what we think with 5. What's going on there? Well, that's definitely in the wrong place. We're gonna have to redo that one. Well, are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if we did one more right at the very top? Okay. So I'm going to redo this, but that's the basic technique. And then we'll just go underneath and do the same thing on the way down over there. One of the things I like about the stitching is just the feeling I get that at some point Nombleberry, or maybe someone who loves Nombleberry, decided that a hat was really necessary and just sort of stuck a patch pocket in the outside. There's something very homemade with love about this. Some versions I've knit have been a little less wonky than this one, but I really like this look today. So I'm sticking with it. I hope this video helps. I wish you happy knitting and happy gnoming, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.